What's going on? And in this video I'll be talking about vitamin D. Specifically, I'll be covering how vitamin D affects hormones, testosterone, the signs of low vitamin D, how vitamin D affects calcium. I'll be talking about sunlight, sunscreens, how you can monitor vitamin D levels, what actually causes low vitamin D, how to supplement with it if you need to, and is excessive vitamin D intake harmful? Okay, so let's get into it. So, what is vitamin D and why is it important for overall health? So I'm going to keep it simple. When it comes to vitamin D, first of all, is actually not even a vitamin, it's a steroid hormone. Vitamin D is a steroid vitamin and powerfully boosts testosterone. And with this video mainly, I'll be talking about how vitamin D affects testosterone hormones, your thyroid hormone, and thus your health. So it boosts testosterone, blocks the aromatase. So aromatase is an enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen, inhibits SHBG. SHBG binds to testosterone and makes it inactive. It increases DHT, so a more powerful version of testosterone, and it increases muscle protein synthesis, meaning the building of muscle. So vitamin D is very important for men and women as well. So vitamin D further enhances the actions of androgens. Androgens are anabolic hormones for men that gives the masculine characteristics. In men would be things like DHT, dihydrotestosterone. By inhibiting their deactivation from androgen receptors, by inhibiting the glucuronidation, a mechanism that inactivates and eliminates substances of DHT. So vitamin D helps with preserving androgens and stopping them from being excreted, resulting in an accumulation of DHT to exert a more powerful effect. So vitamin D is extremely powerful in that sense. So how does vitamin D affect mood and mental health? So vitamin D deficiency is associated with hypothyroidism, so low thyroid hormones. And if you have low thyroid hormones, lower protective hormones, lower androgens, it's associated with the metabolism will be slower, and UCP, so uncoupling proteins, that's the production of being warm. This is why people who are hypothyroid are cold all the time, and will be associated with low thyroid hormones. So vitamin D is extremely important. Vitamin D lowers cortisol. So in this particular study, when you click this, a 40% decrease in cortisol is seen when supplementing with 2000 IUs of vitamin D a day for just 2 weeks. Vitamin D increases serum calcium, which is important for muscle contraction and also muscle protein signaling. What about vitamin and testosterone specifically? So in this particular study, found out that vitamin D and testosterone levels were correlated. Men with sufficient vitamin D levels had significantly higher testosterone levels and lower SHBG count than men who had insufficient amount of vitamin D in the blood. In this study, men who consumed just over 3000 IUs of vitamin D a day for a year had 25% more higher testosterone levels than compared to a placebo. In this study, found out that older men who supplement with vitamin D are less likely to have low testosterone levels than men who are not supplementing with it. In this Australian study, the researchers found out that in older men, low vitamin D status is associated with low free testosterone and increased fracture risk, so issues with the bones. And then in this study, examined the already proven positive association between vitamin D and testosterone levels. They had over 1,000 male subjects, and the results showed that vitamin D had a linear positive association with serum to total and free testosterone levels. However, when the amount of vitamin D in serum goes above 80, which is pretty much optimal, the increase in testosterone plateaus, meaning that vitamin D more than likely does increase testosterone level, but it won't help you if you're already in an optimal state. So if you're deficient in vitamin D and fixing that deficiency, you'll see great benefits from supplementation. So what are the signs and symptoms of a vitamin D deficiency? So fatigue, muscle weakness, skin issues, mood disorders such as depression, low thyroid, low testosterone, bone weakness. Vitamin D is probably best known for bone metabolism and calcium absorption. In a vitamin D deficient state, only 10 to 15% of dietary calcium and about 60% of phosphorus are absorbed. This will lead to low calcium and phosphorus levels, which will increase parathyroid hormone to increase calcium levels. So how does vitamin D and calcium work together? So vitamin D is extremely important and works alongside the thyroid to help regulate blood sugar, largely because it plays a key role in calcium regulation. Low vitamin D levels can lead to symptoms like depression or other nervous system issues. One of vitamin D's function is to suppress parathyroid hormone, which otherwise pulls calcium from the bones when calcium and vitamin D levels are low. This process helps maintain blood calcium levels, but can lead to degenerative symptoms over time. Consuming around 2,000 milligrams of calcium daily is ideal if your vitamin D levels are in the mid-normal range in the blood. So when supplementing with vitamin D, you need to make sure you're getting in enough calcium and vitamin K as well. Sunlight. So 20 to 30 minutes of whole body exposure to sunlight can produce between 10 to 20,000 of vitamin D, depending on the season, sunscreen if you have any, time of day, and race, so this color of your skin. This is why one of the symptoms of low vitamin D levels is the inability to tan, because the darker your skin is, the less vitamin D you produce, because it's like a feedback mechanism. When your skin is tan, that means your body has enough vitamin D, so it doesn't need to get more vitamin D from sunlight. So looking at that, and I've seen that a lot with people supplementing with vitamin D, being able to actually tan better. So wearing synthetic sunscreen reduces vitamin D synthesis in the skin by more than 99%. So wearing sunscreen will mess with that. The perfect time to get sun exposure for vitamin D would be in the middle of the day, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. I advise putting on coconut oil before going out into the sun, as this will serve as a natural sunscreen. Another natural alternative would be cold pressed olive oil, as both these oils will not prevent vitamin D formation and absorption by the skin. It takes 30 minutes to an hour of good sunlight exposure on most of your skin to maintain a vitamin D level in the middle of the normal range, around 50 to 60 nanograms per milliliter. This level is important for keeping parathyroid hormone in check. Also, adding zinc oxide will further protect your skin. So having a sunscreen that has coconut oil, shea butter, like saturated fats, and zinc oxide is a good one. Another good app, if you look it up on your phone, D-Miner, you'll be able to see how much vitamin D you're getting at this time, because you can input your location, this, that, and the other, and it goes based off of time. Because super early in the morning and later in the evening, even though you might get sunlight, you will not actually produce vitamin D. Same with sunlight through the window, it's not the same. So it's important to consider those things. And are there any specific populations at higher risk of vitamin D deficiency? Definitely locations that have less sunlight will have a lot of these issues. So sunscreens. There's very little vitamin D in any of the foods we eat. Most of the body's vitamin D supply is manufactured by the action of UVB rays on lipids on the skin. Using sunscreen drastically lowers this production. A low blood level of vitamin D is known to increase the risk for the development of breast and colon cancer, and may also accelerate the growth of melanoma. Because of this, Dr. Gordon in California believes that the use of sunscreen causes more cancer deaths than it prevents. He estimates that the 17% increase in breast cancer observed between 91 and 92 may be the result of the use of sunscreen over the past decade. He also estimates that 30,000 cancer deaths in the US alone could be prevented each year if people would adopt a regimen of regular, moderate sun exposure. So the chemicals found in sunscreens lower testosterone levels. So there's a study there. And the endocrine disruptors and things like that. Also, the problem with getting sunlight also correlates with your diet. If you're eating a lot of polyunsaturated fats and you're going out in the sun, you're oxidizing these bad fats, and that's what causes the issue. So removing PUFAs from your diet is extremely important. So like I mentioned, sunscreens with saturated fats and zinc oxide is the way to go. How can one monitor their vitamin D levels effectively? The best way is just getting a vitamin D blood test and aiming for this. If it's below, you supplement, I'll tell you right now. If it's above, just maintain your regime. And then make sure you follow a protocol of vitamin D supplementation for 8 weeks before testing, right? So if you get it tested slow, you use vitamin D for 8 weeks and then you check again. So what are the causes of low vitamin D? Let's say you get tested and it's low. So repeat. I've seen some quick improvements from serious symptoms with a supplement of it. I think low thyroid could increase the need for it. It takes lots of summer sun direct exposure of a lot of skin to make sure enough vitamin D. So one is just not getting sunlight, two, not supplementing with it. Thirdly, low cholesterol levels, because cholesterol is important for the production of vitamin D, because vitamin D is a steroid. Steroid meaning it's produced from cholesterol. And heavy metals. There's cases that if someone has really high heavy metals, one of the properties of vitamin D is the increased absorption. So if you have good vitamin D levels, your absorption of nutrients that you consume is increased. But if you're consuming a lot of heavy metals, your body will protect itself by lowering its vitamin D so it doesn't absorb the heavy metals. So that's another thing to consider. How can one safely supplement with vitamin D? So during the winter, for a couple of months, 10,000 units of vitamin D should be safe. But it's better to increase calcium and vitamin K, keeping the vitamin D a little lower unless you have the blood level checked occasionally. So if you know it's low, 10,000 IUs is good to get it up there. And here are two ones that can be used. But overall, the ones you want to use when supplementing with vitamin D, that it's suspended in a saturated fat. So firstly, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, meaning it has to be in a fat source. It can't be a tablet or a powder. It has to be in a gel or like a dropper. It has to be in olive oil, MCT oil, coconut oil, preferably olive oil because it's the easiest on the gut, and no weird additives. Also, a vitamin D with K2 works very good. So having that combination and starting with 10,000 IUs if you're deficient, and then going based off of doing blood tests and what gets measured gets accomplished, seeing how different doses affect your blood levels. Vitamin D levels are good, but I still have low vitamin D symptoms. Could be not enough calcium or magnesium in your diet, or too much phosphate in the diet, repeat. Also, vitamin A and D work in synergy, so together throughout the body. Without sufficient vitamin A, that's retinol, not beta-carotene, vitamin D is unable to properly fulfill its functions. Other factors that increase vitamin D receptors are vitamin D itself, retinoic acid, vitamin A, and zinc. And then excessive dietary phosphorus lowers vitamin D levels, so keeping that in mind. The next, is excessive vitamin D harmful? So from repeat, a woman that took 1 million IUs, that's a lot, of vitamin D a day for a while she was pregnant, the bone density of the baby was so great that the skull of the baby didn't have room for the brain, labeling vitamin D as a potent cause of brain damage. So what you need to get out of that is, yes, too much vitamin D, like a million a day for a prolonged period of time, will cause issues. It will cause great bone density. But with that point, you need to realize that vitamin D is extremely good at improving your bone density. So if you're taking the right dose, you're safe. So conclusion, men with low vitamin D levels are much more likely to have low testosterone levels when compared to men with adequate amounts of the vitamin. Healthy men who decide to supplement with low dose vitamin D can expect to have around 25% more testosterone in the bloodstream after a year of supplementation. If your serum vitamin D levels are already in the optimal range, you might not get a testosterone boosting benefit from extra supplementation. UV light exposure seems to skyrocket testosterone production, especially if you expose your genitals to the sun's rays. I'll be making a deeper video on sunlight and light overall. And vitamin D works with calcium, your electrolytes, vitamin K. So vitamin D is extremely important. And especially now, winter coming about, if you're watching the video now, it's important to supplement with it. It'll be a huge thing that will actually, if you're using thyroid therapy, it's going to improve the effects of the supplements that you take, the thyroid that you take, things like that. So it's very good. So yeah, that being said, this was a video on vitamin D. If you haven't already, make sure you join the Brotherhood community, school.com/brotherhood. I'll leave a link down below where I go deeper into research. There's courses there. You can join calls. So it's a community that you can try for free. There's a 7-day free trial, and you can check it out. So yeah, I hope you got value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.